to get the glassworks to
Tray
hit
and a family friend.
my own stuff.
And
Right there.
then
And
He
then
wasn't on his own, he wasn't in distress.
Every
little
little
laugh.
Cool then.
We've come to the Belfast. How long have we come to the Belfast market? For, it must be at least, 6, 7, 8 years. And as you come every morning, you get to know the traders. And we would get to get our vegetables and get our eggs and all the rest. Absolutely the best of stuff, and it's brilliant. And we also got to know the baker, and the baker came from Croatia. There was a man called Alex. And Alex, we see Alex every morning and talk, and he had the accent and everything. He was from Croatia, and things were unsettled, but then they began to settle down in Croatia. And he decided Alex would disappear at times, and he was building an apartment block because Croatia was now coming back onto the market and the holiday market, so he was building a holiday block. So then we would discuss how it was coming on and how it was coming on. Each disappear and come back again and talk about the progress. So then I felt sort of, I would ask about the rates for this block, and one year we thought, well, we'll maybe go to this holiday apartment. It was north of Dubrovnik. We'll go the next year. So we went with the family. We organised with Alex that we would go and rent this apartment, or an apartment, because he had a block of 3 of them in Zaostrog. It was a place called Zaostrog. And in this apartment in Zaostrog, Alex told us that he would meet us at the airport as we flew and bring us there, and there wouldn't be a problem. So he did meet us at the airport, and unfortunately the apartment was overbooked for the time we were there, but that wasn't a problem because he was going to put us into his apartment. So he was very, very kind and did all this. And when we arrived, he got in the apartment. He had the fridge stocked, everything. It was like coming home. And then sat down and chatted to us and brought us to somewhere we would have a meal, and a typical meal and all the rest. So came back to the apartment, and next day he went off about his business. We went off about ours, nodded and did, and that was all right. And then that night he came and he sat and chatted with us and told us his age and his family and all about his family, and just we're sitting right in the balcony in the heat and everything. It was lovely, and how he'd been for a lovely walk that day, and we talked about the wonderful country that it was. But then that night, later on that night, my husband heard a noise, and he said, I thought it was some old drunk in the street, but in Croatia you don't have old drunks in the street. It's a lovely place. And he said, no, it's somebody in distress, it's somebody in distress. And it ended up being Alex in distress. And he was really, really, really distraught. He was at the end of his tether, and he was panicking because he knew that he was very, very, very ill, and he had a bag of tablets and a list. And we brought him into the apartment and lay him down, and we just didn't know what to do because at this stage he was past himself with the language. You know, he sort of couldn't even speak in English. He was just really so ill. So we got there was a book, and there was a name, and we dialed a number, and somebody came, and it was a friend who wasn't very far away, because we just didn't know what to do. And as I say, this language, we didn't know the language. So the friend came, and he phoned the hospital then, and the hospital said no, there was no way if he was this ill to bring him straight there, and that there was quite a journey to the hospital, and it was a narrow wee road. So the family were there, but I was in my night dress, and we brought him out to it was a big BMW, and brought him out, and there was a friend and Alex, and I could see that somebody else needed to be there. So anyway, Alex got in the front seat, but they tilted the seat backwards, and I was in the back seat, so I started at this stage to give him the kiss of life, because he was really, he was sick. And we went to the hospital. God, it was a nightmare journey. I'll never forget the journey, because the journey was like we were going 90 miles an hour along a track, because this friend wanted to get him there. And Alex and them, were just giving it. I remember one time before I had to do this, and they said, keep going, because you feed the brain, you know, even if you think somebody's sick, you keep the air going through them, because if they can revive them, then the brain won't be dead. So I kept going, and then brought him to the hospital. But it was such a primitive hospital. It was in a place called Markaska, and they had nothing, no instruments, nothing really sophisticated to bring him back. So he died. So then there was his son, and the son came out, and we had to arrange, lots of things. We had to, it was complicated because there was none of the family were there. We were the only ones there. But it started off with the market, and the family. Then there was the son Darko, and we had seen him occasionally at the market, and he came out obviously because it was his father, but he couldn't come out for a few days. And some of the family came in, and we had no food in the apartment, but they came to stay with us, and we then brought them out for meals and things and got to know their family. So here was this foreign man in the market selling cake, and we got to know his family, and there we were with him the day that he died. And not only that, his wife still works here. And unfortunately, one of the people that was there that we really did get to know, Seka, his sister, was a lovely person. And they were all very caring and very nice. And I mean, they appreciated that we were there as the only people from Belfast, the link being the market, there with, their relative in his last moments, as it were. And it was good that they knew that he had been looked after and someone had taken care and tried. That was really, really important. So the link actually still continues, because we would see his wife then every morning, and we continue to buy bread from her, and it was consoling for her to know that in his last moments he wasn't on his own, he wasn't in distress, he was being comforted. So basically that's my story.